Greetings from Las Vegas. I'm Andy Isco with the weekly Mark Lawrence Against the Spread contest update, reviewing the most popular and widespread contests for the football season. One contest involving college and pro football, which is the Golden Nugget contest, and then four contests exclusively dealing with NFL handicapping. So if you've been with us before, you know the contests by now, and I'm going to give just a little bit of a brief explanation as we go by. I want to begin by wishing everyone a very Merry Christmas, very happy holiday season, and of course, a very happy and healthy New Year. And as we'll talk about in a little bit when we get to the fifth contest, we could have several multimillionaires ringing in the new year or celebrating a multi-million dollar status shortly thereafter. But we'll begin by reviewing the Golden Nuggets Ultimate Football Challenge. This is a contest in which contestants pick 7 selections a week against a static point spread that comes out on Wednesday afternoons by the Golden Nugget here in Las Vegas. You can do a combination of college, NFL, or exclusively one or the other. Through the first weeks of the season, the first 16 weeks of the season, there are 3 contestants tied with a record of 68, 40, and 4 against the spread, or an equivalent. They give you 1 point for a win and 1 point for a half point for a push. So it's a total of 68-40-4, which is 70 out of a possible 112 points, a winning percentage of 62.5%, 62.5%. Those 3 co-leaders, or tri-leaders, if you will, have a 1.5 point lead over the contestant currently in 4th place. And with 2 weeks remaining, that's an additional 14 selections that must be made before we determine the champion and the top 20 plus ties who will collect. Of the field of 153 entries this year, only 6 right now are hitting at 60% or better. That's just 3.9% of the field, or roughly 1 out of every 25 entries is hitting at 60%. So when you combine the fact that college football is generally considered to be the easier of the two sports, the pro football, the NFL, not being as easy, I put easy in quotes, to pick winners, it's a little bit lower than we normally see. It's been a struggle for a lot of the folks picking a lot of college football games this year in this contest. Let's turn now to the 2 contests sponsored by the Westgate Superbook here in Las Vegas. The Superbook Classic, the Super Contest Classic, and the Super Contest Gold. Super Contest Classic has been going on since 1988. The Super Contest Gold, about I think 12, 15 years they've had that. That's the high-end contest in Las Vegas. Super Contest Gold, a $5,000 entry fee. Contestants make 5 selections against a point spread, NFL sides only, no totals, and there's a winner-take-all prize at the end of the season. 92 entries this year, works out at $5,000 a pop to a $460,000 uh, winner take all prize. There will be no ties. They have several tiebreakers involved. So you do end up with a single winner at the end of the 18 weeks. I report each week on the consensus of the 5 most popular plays in this and the next 2 contests. So folks can follow along and see how they would have done against the top 5 selections. You can find it. I'll give you information about that a little bit later. Through the first 16 weeks of the contest, 80 selections have been made. And those 80 selections, which represents the 5 most popular, frequently selected teams each week, 50, 27, and 3. Again, point for a win, half point for a push. That's 51.5 out of a possible 80 points, 64.4% for the field consensus as a whole. That is, in one word, astounding. It's quite remarkable. Many years these contests fail to even break even with the consensus. So we're seeing a much sharper field of contestants, knowing when to pick underdogs, knowing when to pick favorites. Now, this past week, the Super Contest Gold consensus went 3-2. The 3 winning selections were the Seahawks laying 2.5 in their contest against Tennessee, the Falcons winning in their game against the Indianapolis Colts, and the Cleveland Browns laying also 2.5 in their win at the Houston Texans. The 2 losing selections, the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday laying that big double-digit number against the Giants, winning by 8, and the Minnesota Vikings, a 3-point home dog, losing by 6 to the Detroit Lions. In fact, Seattle and the Eagles were both tied for the most popular selection. But of course, remember, only 92 contestants in this field, so it's not surprised that we'd have a tie for one of the top 5 spots in at least 1 or more weeks. There's a single leader in this contest with a record of 50, 27, and 3. which that's 5-0, 27-3 for 51.5 points, which ironically enough is the same record as the consensus. So 51.5 out of 80 possible points, 64.4% is the percentage being had by the leader, and they are leading by that leader is leading by 1.5 points over the contestant in second, with 10 selections remaining to be made, 5 in each of the final 2 weeks. Of the 92 contestants, 10 of them are hitting at 60% or better, and that's 10.9% of that small field. I'll turn now to the main contest, which has been the longest running contest, continuously running contest in Las Vegas. It's the Super Contest. When they introduced the Super Contest Gold, and now as a Super Contest reboot, we had to distinguish the main Super Contest, so we've given it the name of the Super Contest Classic. I think being around a third of a century qualifies it for the term classic. This year, the contest attracted 1,301 entries at $1,000 each. Again, using the same lines and the same format, 5 picks against the spread as the Super Contest Gold. This contest has had also an outstanding results for the top 5 picks each week. The consensus this past week, in fact, the consensus 5-0. With the 5 winning selections: the Cleveland Browns, the Atlanta Falcons, the Seattle Seahawks, the Detroit Lions laying the 3 to Minnesota, and on Monday night, the Baltimore Ravens plus 5.5 in the outright win over San Francisco. That brings the year-to-date consensus result for the top 5 picks in the Super Contest Classic to 49, 28, and 3. That's 50.5 out of a possible 80 points, or a 63.1% winning percentage. Again, outstanding considering the longer history of this contest, where it was difficult for the consensus plays to even not even reach the break-even point from betting standpoint, but even from a mathematical 50-50 break-even, it was been a challenge. So it's been a very outstanding year for those contestants. The 1301. There are 3 leaders tied at the top with a record of 54, 25, and 1 or equivalent. That's 54.5 out of 80 points. That's 68.1%. So that's even outdoing the consensus, which you would expect that the leader would outperform the consensus, and such is the case at this point. That's good enough for a 1.5-point lead for those 3 contestants over the contestant in 4th place. Of the 1,301 entries, 103 of them are at 60% or higher. That's 7.9%, 8% of the entire field hitting at that rate. That's a very solid percentage. This contest pays the top 30 places plus ties. So those will collect. There are 12 contestants right now tied for places 25 through 36. So they would split that final 6 playing positions, 25 through 30, share 12 ways if we were to contest based on these results. What they need right now to be in that position to be collecting those final prize place, 62.5%, which is very good to be collecting. And just to put it in some context, for many, many years in the Super Contest, if you could hit 60%, you would almost certainly cash, or you would be within a half point and no more than 1 point out of being in a paying position. And for many years in this contest, only the top 20 contestants were paid, finishers were paid. The contest, prior to about 2011, the contest would usually attract about 350 to 500 entries, but paying 20 places, hitting 60% still was good enough to cash. Now we'll turn to the 2 newest contests here in Las Vegas. The Circa Sports Millions and the Circa Survivor. I'll get to the Survivor in a moment, but taking a look at the Circa Millions, that's also based upon the format used by those Westgate contests, 5 selections a week against a static point spread. Here again, we look at the results of the consensus. There were 5,274 entries at $1,000 each, and the guaranteed prize pool here was $6 million. So the Circa had to fund the additional $726,000 out of its own pockets. So it represented an overlay, which is why, by the way, a lot of contestants who enter wait until the final few days before the contest officially begins, the entries deadline, because they want to see if there is an overlay. A lot of the sharp professional bettors here will not enter a contest if there's not some sort of overlay in many instances. So such is the case here. Nearly $750,000 overlay in this contest. Looking at the consensus of the top 5 picks, the top 5 picks in the Circa Millions, 5-0 this past week. The winning selections: were the Atlanta Falcons, the Cleveland Browns, the Seattle Seahawks, the Tampa Bay Bucks in a game that was pick'em when the contest lines came out in their game against Jacksonville, and another pick'em game for the contest. The Miami Dolphins pick'em in their 2-point win over Dallas. So that 5-0 brings the consensus results to the season to 47, 30, and 3. That's 48.5 out of 80 points. That's 60.6 winning percentage. And that, remember, is a consensus of over 5,000 contestants. That's extremely impressive given the size of the field and the selectivity that they've been able to have as far as the consensus plays are concerned. There is a solo leader in this contest. That record by that leader, 58, 21, and 1. 58.5 out of a possible 80 points for a nice 73.1% winning percentage. And that percentage, by the way, especially with as many entries as this contest has, is in line with what the winners have had to hit over the last 4 or 5 years to be in contention. Usually between the upper 60s and mid 70s will be good enough to win. So it's not as easy as you think, even though those numbers might be surprising to many. That contestant leads by 1.5 over second place and by 3.5 points over the two contestants tied for third. So the current leader and certainly the person in second place is in very good position to cash, with those trailing having only 10 picks to make up that ground. And I will point out that the first place prize in this contest is $1 million. So a lot of interest in how that contest will end up over the final 2 weeks. Of the 5,274 entries, 419 are at 60% or more. And again, like the Westgate contest, 7.9% of the field enjoying what is generally considered to be an outstanding season. Forget all these claims of 65, 70, 80%. People who in the know who've been following this for a year and who bet on their own know 60% is an outstanding season. You need 53.3% to break even. So you just do the math. 60 and 40, that's 60%. Take out the 10% VIG, 60 and 44. So that's 16 net units of profit out of every 100 wagers if you hit exactly 60% laying minus 110. In this contest, the top 100 plus ties collect, and currently 38 contestants are tied for places 77 through 101. And in order to be in that group of the 38 contestants tied for the final, excuse me, that's 20. Let me do my math a little bit. 25, I believe that is. 63.8% is what it takes to be currently in position to cash in the top 100 plus ties. Now we get to what has become clearly the most popular contest, most widely focused, the one reported by most media outlets, that's developed in just 4 short years, and that's the Circa Survivor. The premise, very simple. Pick one NFL team a week to just win straight up, no point spreads involved, and that entry advances to the following week. The one restriction, you can only pick a team once. So once you've picked a team, it's one and you've advanced. You cannot use that selection again. Now, in order to try and limit the number of possible winners, again, this is a winner take all, the lone survivor or survivors. And in the first 3 years of the contest, we have had multiple winners splitting the prize. And in fact, they've all gone the distance, the full entire season, without losing a pick. To spice it up a little bit and try to limit the number of winners, the Circa has added a couple of twists in recent years. They've split Thanksgiving week into 2 separate contest weeks, and they've done the same with Christmas, splitting it up into 2 different contest weeks. So over the 18-week NFL season, contestants, if they're going to go through a perfect season, would have to go 20-0. And since we've both just passed Thanksgiving and Christmas, that means in the first 16 weeks of the contest, contestants will have had made 18 picks, meaning that there are only 14 teams remaining that those contestants can use for what hopefully for them will be the final 2 weeks of the contest. Now, there were 9,267 entries initially starting the season. $1,000 per entry. That's a $9,267,000 prize pool. Through the first 15 weeks of the season, that's the first 16 weeks of the contest, a total, and the graphic is slightly wrong here. I provided Greg with a slight typo. It's not that significant when you'll hear it. Of the 9,267 original entries, 9,257 were eliminated in the first 15 weeks of the season, leaving just 10 contestants eligible into the split Christmas week, which consisted of the games on Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. Those who advanced after making their selection for the Thursday, Saturday, Sunday would advance to pick one of the 6 teams that played in the 3 games on Monday. Of the 10 contestants who advanced to Christmas week part 1, 6 of them were eliminated on Saturday. They all had the Denver Broncos at home to win the game. And of course, they were upset by New England on that last second 56-yard field goal, leaving just 4 contestants vying for the top prize heading into Monday's Christmas Day. All 4 contestants had the Eagles, who had to survive an attempted late comeback by the Giants, but they managed to hold on, win the game by 8. All 4 contestants advance into NFL week number 17. I'll give you information in a moment how you can check to see what these contestants play before the games are started. The value of each entry right now, divide the $9,267,000, $9,267,000 by 4. $2,316,750 is the inherent value of each of those 4 entries. Now, we had a few weeks ago, there were 13 entries alive at the time, and 12 of them agreed to do a chop. And they were going to take, I believe, $400,000 each and play for the remaining $5.2 million. One of the 13 did not agree to the chop, so it didn't happen. I believe that one contestant was eliminated with his pick of the Broncos Saturday night, so he may end up regretting, or maybe he doesn't regret it. He's a gambler; he took his chances, but not getting in the shot in a chop. Don't know what will happen with these 4 contestants. We find out later in the week. I wouldn't be surprised if they decided, you know what? Let's all guarantee ourselves that getting this far, we're going to all be millionaires. We'll each take $1 million out of the pot and play for $5,267,000 to the winner take all. Might very well end up that their final 2 selections, all of them go perfect, and they would get the $2,316,750 currently available if they complete the season, or if, as was the possibility on Saturday, they all get eliminated on the same day, whether they all pick the same team that loses or they pick 4 different teams and each of them lose, or something in between. So looking at the results of the contest, there's going to be a lot of interest, and you'll probably hear it if you listen to a lot of sports betting media, and even some of the mainstream media will be covering the Circa Survivor contest over this week and potentially week number 18. For those of you who are new or just want a little bit of a refresher, there's a link at the bottom of this video on which you can take a look at the tutorial, which gives you information on how you can access more information about the 5 contests I've discussed on the internet, including the Survivor, and you can see the selections, and actually you can also see the teams that each of these 4 contestants still have available. They do show on the website the teams that are currently favored that the contestants have not yet used. I believe 3 of them have 4 teams remaining of the teams that are favored this week, and one of the contestants has I think it's 5 teams remaining. But you can check that out by clicking on the link at the bottom, going through the tutorial contest by contest, and we will be back next week with another update on the various contests that we've just discussed, with just 1 week remaining, a lot to be decided, and of course, although we normally lead at the end, let me give you a little bit of a tease as to what happens at the beginning as far as the Survivor goes, and a potential for not just 4 millionaires, but 4 multimillionaires.